Audrey Bailey,
and I'm an ELL teacher.
I'm Jenna Spearing, and I'm the teacher librarian.
Hi, I'm Seth Schroeder, and I teach social studies.
I'm Rachel Munn. I'm a special education teacher.
I'm John Rorick, and I'm a social worker.
My name is Travis Mead, and I teach social studies.
I'm Anna Austin, and I'm a literacy teacher.
I'm Ryan Smith, head custodian.
Hi, I'm Laura Cottrell, and I'm the principal of Northwest Junior High.
Staff, teachers, administrators, not to mention parents, community members, and politicians are constantly making decisions about what is fair and best for students.
At Common Ground, our mission is to take this conversation to the voices most marginalized in the discussion.
Real students with real meaningful thoughts regarding equity in schools.
Common Ground attempts to upend the traditional power structures by moderating conversations between students and staff.
An honest, open, and respectful examination of school culture as we attempt to answer this question of what is best for students. You're listening to Common Ground. They use the word like bullied and picked on.
Front Street.
Front Street. The Northwest Junior High Building Equity Team is excited to invite you to Common Ground Episode 1, Front Street, Perception is Reality. Back in October 2015, the Northwest Junior High Building Leadership Team implemented a new school-wide Tardy policy. As you'll hear in a moment, the Tardy policy was an attempt to set clear and firm expectations for all students about the importance of getting to class on time. But like many school-wide decisions, no one thought to ask the students what they thought. Did they see tardies as an issue? If they were tardy, why? And what, if anything, did students think would make a difference? Liz Bruning, Vice Principal of Northwest Junior High, explains.
The building leadership team met and decided that they wanted to have a more strict tardy policy. And so they built it together. Like, everybody came with different ideas. Members of the team had ideas. Laura came with some ideas of things they'd done in the past in her building. And so we sat down and kind of drafted a plan of how it might work here. And that's where we came up with the policy that we have now. So if you're late to class, you can't go into class until you have a red pass. And there's 2 locations to get that to try to cut down on the amount of time between getting that pass and getting to class. Oh, we also instituted the warning bell to tell students that there was 1 minute left to class. Mm-hmm. And I think that's helped for kids who didn't realize that. Mm-hmm. But for the chronic kids, I don't think that's necessarily made them like rush to class. Mm-hmm. They're just like, yeah, all right, I've got 1 more minute to finish talking, and then I can go get a pass.
Right. Right. That's so true.
We presented to staff first, and then we presented to students. We did it in the video format. Shared it during morning announcements so they all would know when we talked about why it's important to get to class, and then here are the consequences if you're not getting to class.
Our goal at Common Ground is to bring in the voices of students, administrators, and staff all in one place to reflect on practices in our school. So throughout this episode, we're going to be bringing you the voices of students, and I want to start by introducing you to one of the students in our building with the highest number of tardies in 7th and 8th grade.
If you had to pick one reason why you are tardy to class, like, what would you say?
Well, for me, I don't think that, 4 minutes is enough time for everyone. Mm-hmm. And, when you try to tell, the principal that, their excuse is always, well, 600 other kids do that. Mm-hmm. But they don't understand I'm not the 600 other kids that can do that. Mm-hmm. I can't do everything that I need to do in only 4 minutes and still have to make it to class.
Mm-hmm. What do you feel like is getting in your way?
For me, I think it's everything because, some periods, I have to go to my locker and go to the bathroom at the same time, and maybe I'll get a quick drink. Yep. And, I'm not the best organized person, so, I try to get organized, and I like to keep most of the things in my locker because when I was in 7th grade, I used to carry all of my things. Yep. But that was kind of hard.
Do you think there's any one thing that would change your getting to class on time in the 4 minutes? If the 4 minutes didn't change, is there anything that could change that would help you make it?
I don't know. I feel like For me, I feel like I would be better having. I feel like some people would be better having an escort.
Mm-hmm.
Cause like they could help them when like they're looking for something or when they really need something.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how I feel.
Do you remember, and I know that I have this sheet somewhere, like what those consequences were? Because it was like a rolling consequence thing, right? Like the first one, this happens, and then the second one, this happens.
Yes. I can pull it up real quick
Yeah.
because I know that I have it here. So we talked about teachers needing to call home to parents for kids that are continuously coming in late. And I don't know how we haven't monitored if teachers have been doing that, so I don't know how much that has happened or helped or not. And then we said 4 to 6 tardies. We'd have an administrator meets with a student and strategize how to get to class on time and then call to the parents. 7 to 9 tardies, contacting parents again, and they have a lunch detention. We've given out dozens and dozens of lunch detentions. 10 to 15 tardies, after school detention, and contacting parents again. The after school detention has been difficult because of kids needing to ride the bus, and those tend to be the same kids who are late to classes. Not all of the time, but so we haven't used the after school detention as much. I know some teachers have on their own given detentions after school for that, but we've done some. 16 to 20 tardies, contacting parents again, lunch detention, and Saturday school. And we've given those out as well. 20 to 25 tardies, contacting parents, in-school suspension, parent meeting, escort to classes. And we've done those things as well. The escorting to classes is hard because
You need staff to do
staff
that.
to do it and to do it every single period. Like we might have somebody who could do it in the morning or somebody who could do it in the afternoon, but having that consistent person there every class period has been difficult.
Especially when it's for more than one kid.
Right. And we've tried it with a couple individuals, and it might have helped for a couple days, but then it wasn't consistent. And that's probably on our end too, but I don't know where we get the staff to help with that. And then more than 25 tardies, again, more in school suspension. A parent could come to shadow the student.
Have any parents taken you up on that?
No parents have come.
Yeah.
But we have conferenced with parents, at different meetings that we've had, because a lot of times the kids that are late also have other issues that parents have to come in and we talk about. So we talk about being late to class too, but it continues to be an issue for those same kids.
With issues surrounding the tardy policy surfacing, we hoped the building equity team could open up a dialogue between students, staff, and administration, but we didn't know if we would succeed. We didn't even know if this was the right topic. But by taking a risk and staying open, we walked away with powerful lessons about perception and communication, and a moment to examine our practice. Our hope is that the voices of our students might do the same for you. Part 1. Perception is reality.
Should we just say the things that jumped out at us?
I think that the 7th grade podcast was really solutions oriented, and I really appreciated that, and it made me think that they had a lot of really good ideas for ways to modify the existing tardy policy that I think were really useful. And the one that I remember in particular was, I think one of the students asked, why do we even have to have those passes? And it made me think, why do we have to have a green versus red pass if the names are going in as tardy anyway? And kind of a thread running throughout was how much stigma was on bringing the pass in and what happened when people saw that pass. So it seems like that would be a really easy thing to fix, just the same color pass for everyone. And the letters that go down to the office with the names, those are tardies.
We interviewed a group of 7th graders and a group of 8th graders, and we tried to make it a diverse group of students. And by that I mean students who would be strongly affected by the tardy policy and students who might not be. Here's some of what they said.
I think also tardies are just sometimes going to happen once or twice or whatever, so it kind of makes you feel bad when you have to go get a sheet of paper and people are judging you because you're getting one tardy the whole year, instead of just walking into class and your teacher noticing, instead of having to go through the halls with this red pass.
What perception do you think teachers have of students who are
Constantly late.
Do you think they look at
They probably think they're not prepared for school. The people that are late shouldn't be in school.
They don't want to be in school.
As a staff, we thought that carrying red passes through the hallways and into classrooms might motivate students to avoid being tardy. But the stigma, the idea of being put on Front Street, came up so often in our interviews that we began to see it had repercussions we did not anticipate.
Oh, that was your fault. You didn't want us in your class.
So sometimes it feels like teachers don't want you in their classes when they see they see you trying to make it.
Say some days he'll be standing by his door, he'll let us in. Some days he'll be playing, he'll try to guard the door. They'll be like, come on, man. And some days he'll if he's really angry, he'll end up slamming the door in your face, seeing you trying to make it down.
And usually the door is locked.
So yeah, he just
and then
kicks
he
it
wants to be mad when you didn't come to class that day. The door was locked. You clearly saw me, but.
Our goal was to stay passive in these interviews, but sometimes misperceptions needed to be addressed.
Yes.
Okay, well, the flip side, so some teachers might say, it wouldn't be fair for them
to come in late.
Well, to decide, right? What if that might make, so I can tell you what I feel. Sometimes I see kids trying to make it on time. And I want to be like, okay, come on, just come into the class. But then does that send a message I'm treating some kids unfairly? Because
it sets a precedent.
Yeah, because it says oh, well, Miss Austin likes Max, so she'll let him in late, but, she won't let so-and-so in late. Yeah. That students might think I'm treating kids differently.
Even when they understood that they might have misread the intention, they were still bothered by what we were doing.
We beat on the door, he keeps talking and waits.
Yeah, and then makes jokes.
And then he makes a joke about it.
Maybe this is the pizza delivery man.
He says,
or
the
sometimes.
towel day, when he was like, oh, we have enough towels, and slams the door in your face.
Yeah, I think that listening to both interviews, but 8th grade in particular, it's making me reevaluate my sense of humor all day long. I haven't really been able to shake it. Every time I say something that I think is funny to a student, I'm questioning it because I think I have a sense of humor maybe similar to what these students are experiencing, but they're obviously really taking it to heart and they're remembering it for a really long time, and it's coloring every other tardy interaction they have. So even if a couple of things have happened with one teacher, it might just be one day, the teacher's got one bad attitude. It's being reflected in every time they interact with the teacher like that.
The other thing too that really struck me was noticing sort of the impact of our emotions on kids and how they really pick up on it when we're mad, when we're angry. They know that, and that's kind of a lack of professionalism on our part when we're letting those emotions impact our teaching.
That made me really sad. They used the word bullied and picked on.
Front Street.
At this point, after listening to the interviews, I think we were all feeling pretty overwhelmed and a little sad about the perceptions that the students were getting. But Travis was great in reminding us that perception happens on the side of the teachers too.
I think, it's hard to, because like you said, I have kind of the same sense of humor as well. I think it's important though to always revisit those, because we say this might be 1% or less of our population that really internalizes this. Not to say that's not unimportant, but at the same time, the 1% of the kids that voice that opinion or that are comfortable voicing that opinion to us, we internalize that 1% too.
Right.
If you're using that type of humor, you always have to make sure you revisit with that kid to make sure that they understand the intention of that. It's just as a student athlete, the coach would just chew your butt, but then at the end of the day, as you're walking off the field, you know where you stand with them. I think that is important, that they don't think that you're upset or that you don't like them.
Part 2, communication and consistency.
I think also kids are confused, the students are confused because we're no one really gave us the exact reason on why we're getting tardy passes. Yeah. Is the only reason because teachers don't notice when we're late?
Would you rather have me get a tardy and get yelled at, or would you rather have me be on time and not anything happen?
That's a good idea. It made me, just listening to the 7th graders, made me think about how we did not communicate
not only the policy protocol, but we didn't communicate the repercussions to the students at all. So like their variation of what happens or what should happen was different, and so that's our fault.
Well, I got a question. Like, when you get a pass from the from here, they write your name down. But if you get a pass from downstairs, they automatically put you a tardy in the computer. So like,
They take that list downstairs and put them in as tardies.
So do the teacher give you a tardy too?
No.
And so then like I was walking to my locker because I came from downstairs, went back upstairs, and I had to go back to FCS. And so then like one teacher, she was like, she was like, don't you think you a little late? Go get a pass. So I was like, I just came out my class. Well, where's your pass book? I'm like, it's right here. She's like, do you got a pass signed in it? Like, she got to know everything. Like, they ask you too many questions and stuff.
Do they have to know everything? Why are they asking so many questions? But I do think that there are people that are not even really directly connected with the student that are asking the questions about the tardies, and that it seems to have a big effect on them.
Mm-hmm. I think originally we had discussed the people who they get the tardy from, maybe, right, in a restorative way, questioning the student, right? And them doing that so that the teacher could just teach and not have to say anything to the student. But that's the total opposite of what's
that's
happening.
not what's happening.
And that makes me think that maybe teachers need some suggestions for like how to talk to them about it in a restorative way. Like the people at the tardy table maybe need, and I mean I'm one of those people, but I wonder like maybe like instead of being there? I mean I think sometimes I'm like, why are you always tardy? This is the third time today. But so maybe me and the others need some strategies about like how to be restorative about the tardy.
What's hard about this is that we all feel like we're doing what's best for kids, but what we heard from students made us think about consistency and perception when it comes to discipline. Like when these two students explained that calling them out versus just letting them sit down is the difference between wanting to go to class and avoiding it.
Other classes that I would go to just because the teacher would have something to say and they would put me on Front Street and they would explain to the class all this and all that. But then there's other classes where the teacher's not going to say much, so it's like, if I'm late, I'm late.
When we come in, she just takes the pass and let us sit down. That's something I like, because she don't say nothing. She just takes the pass and says, bam.
Some teachers will, if you're not in your seat, you're tardy. But then you don't really know when the bell's going to ring. So it's kind of like you aren't going to make them go get a pass if they're out of their seat. But if they're out of the class, you will. So you really shouldn't call that a tardy.
The voice level thing, how they got a level of, how high you can speak. Well, why can't you have a speed level? When they be, teachers that be standing at the corner, they be 1 minute, and then you try to speed walk all day, slow down. Right. They be like, you better not be tardy, but slow down.
They're always telling us to hurry up and then slow
down. That was so funny, but I think that is a thing, maybe if we just all say slow down, rather than some teachers are doing that differently. Like me, I'm usually just I don't even say anything, but I probably should.
I've been saying lately, you got a heel strike.
Yeah,
what's that?
Your heel has to hit the ground.
Oh,
as
okay.
you walk.
They would probably be like,
what? You can walk really fast, but if your heel's touching, then you're not sprinting.
And that could be on the poster of speed level.
That's the speed level poster.
It's a slow saunter, and then a heel strike, and then a run, and you have to be in this slow
strike. I love it.
Part 3. Partners. All of us walked away realizing that we don't listen to students as often as we think we do, or at least that we're not listening in the ways that are the most important.
It was some kids that had a lot of tardies, we had to go up in there last try, and and people was and we could carry our backpacks around, we can have everything in it that we need, and then we could just walk in class and pull it out. And so no, we can't let y'all wear your backpacks. Well, why would you ask us what can you do to help us not be tardy if you're not even going to do it?
Well, I think that kind of comes with, there might be school rules, the no backpacks, but then they can't really go against the rule to make that exception.
So I think they shouldn't even make those meetings if they're not going to
Yeah,
help.
exactly.
Since it goes against the
The whole
policy.
question was, what can we do to help y'all not be tardy? And then when you tell them, they say, oh, we can't do it.
Even when we do ask students for their thoughts, we have to think about whether or not we're just giving them lip service. Because I think one thing we learned is that the students are capable of thinking with us and being reflective. I mean, just look at what those 3 kids just said. And maybe we don't give them the chance to do this as often as we should.
Are the students going to be able to hear our responses and respond as well? Because I think I really do. I would like to hear some of their perspectives once they understand what the policy is supposed to do and why we did it at all, and see if maybe some of their perspectives change or if it's the same. I don't know.
Well, there was in the first interview. He said, one of the students said, when I come in, the teacher doesn't say anything. I like that. And when I heard that, I was like, yes. Okay, the policy does work for some kids, and that's what's supposed to happen, and he did like that. So I think they would be more responsive if, they're across the board fidelity to this policy amongst the teachers and the students understanding why we're doing this.
We know this first podcast is about the Tardy policy, but we couldn't help but draw conclusions about communication in general. The students didn't seem frustrated with the policy. They seemed frustrated by not understanding what the policy was about, or by our inconsistencies in enacting it. As teachers, we stand in our rooms all day and tell our students to hear us. Maybe more than anything else, this first foray into the whole podcasting thing is helping us to remember that students need to be heard too.
Again, I think rolling the whole thing out, what does the door closed mean? I think some of these kids didn't internalize what that meant. I think a lot of them internalized without explanation that I'm not welcome.
What are you feeling about the whole Tardy issue? How are you feeling?
I'm frustrated personally with those kids who are continuously late, like kids who have 40 or more tardies, because we do have a good chunk of kids. 10 probably or something. Kids that have 40 or more tardies to class, and that's just so excessive. And then I know that staff members see that and think that nothing is being done. No one is holding those kids accountable and just letting them go to class late. But we're at the point, what more can we do with those kids? And I don't know how to make it so that they want to get to class on time.
Yeah.
I definitely don't want our students to have anxiety, so that's definitely something that we have to figure out. But we do want to teach them responsibility. So how do you have the best of both worlds? My response is, I wonder if the culture of the teachers here is ready for something like that. I wonder if, could we do that and be okay? Because there's so many teachers who I feel need that kind of you're going to get a punitive if you don't, adhere to the rules. And so how do you shift that mindset to get a perfect balance of teaching them responsibility without having to basically, draw blood?
And I think, this might be a topic for another podcast, I just think that it's really important that we realize that these students are 13, 14, 12. They are not who they are in this moment for the rest of their lives, and we don't know who they are going to be. It's not up to us to decide.
You've been listening to Common Ground, the collaboration between the Northwest Junior High Building Equity Team, administrators, and students. Thanks for joining us.